Hello and welcome to Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, Chris Lee, joined by Jay Greeson. We will talk about the weekend of football ahead, all the SEC games. We'll break them down into tiers. We'll talk about some games of national interest. We'll talk about the playoffs. Come up with a little model to kind of take a look at the playoffs now going forward. Jay, got a big show ahead today. Very excited to be doing this.
Absolutely. Very excited for this weekend because while we are all consumed with college football, I will be paying a ton of attention to the Ryder Cup. I love that event.
Yeah. Back to football. Before we get into the games, just so excited to see finally we know what the future of scheduling is going to be. I think that what the SEC has done here, going to the 9-game schedule, combined with the way that it's done it now, you play every team every other year now. I mean, we have been in this spell even since expansion. Like, for instance, Georgia's never gone to Texas A&M. You have teams that just have not gone to other destinations in a long time, teams that never play. I'm really excited to see a lot more SEC on SEC action than we've ever seen before.
Yeah, and I understand the coach's consternation about that. I mean, everybody's schedule just got harder. Especially with – look, the SEC has been the upper tier, even with the blip of last year's Big Ten – or last couple of years of Big Ten national champions. SEC's had the ultimate ceiling, and in a lot of ways, maybe the Big Ten has elevated on their top tier to where the ceilings can be comparable. But where they're not comparable in this league is the floor, because now you've got Vanderbilt and Mississippi State, and even in recent years before Beamer and until last year, a South Carolina. I mean, those schools, if we had a football version of the basketball SEC Big Ten challenge, shootout, whatever it is, the bottom half of the SEC would kick the living snot out of the bottom half of the Big Ten.
Yeah. Now, I will say this, that the middle of the Big Ten has gotten stronger. You've seen some teams like Nebraska make a jump up. Southern Cal's having a good year. Washington's having a better year, although those teams haven't played anybody yet. I'm just kind of going by power rankings. But yes, I mean, you're right. I think that's one thing, and I'm glad to see the strength of schedule coming in this year. If they are really going to take that seriously, should help the SEC if you're going to go at it in totality.
Question for you, though, because of the way the numbers crunch and how this breaks out, is this possibly a little bit of showing the cards that the SEC is happy with its 16 and may not be looking to expand anytime soon? Because the math works on this.
Yeah, I wondered about that too. I mean, I think anytime you have a chance to add a big brand that's going to increase your revenues, you do it. You saw it with Oklahoma and Texas. I mean, it felt like the SEC was at a pretty good place before that, but those were harder to turn down. Maybe the question is, how many brands are worth adding at this point? I mean, you would take Notre Dame if you could get Notre Dame. That would be one, but like the teams that have been talked about in connection with the SEC are North Carolina, Virginia. Those are the ones that I've heard the most. I feel like I'm leaving someone out here, but like those aren't names that when you think college football Saturday, boy, I'm going to go turn on the TV to watch the Tar Heels and the Cavaliers.
Yeah, but we have to throw that prism in the trash. I mean, because I still get caught up thinking Maryland's I'm about to watch an ACC game when Maryland won. I mean, and I'll tell you another one that should intrigue the league and a school who should look to do it. Nebraska needs to kick the tires because Nebraska has zero rivalry, connectivity, whatever you want to say. And you and I both know, and we've talked about this, the appeal for the league is to find ways into states they're not currently in to expand the footprint, which is the North Carolinas, and as opposed to a Clemson. Yeah, Clemson fits an FSU. Those check a lot of boxes that would be desirable for the league. But with the exception of Texas joining, and everybody wants Texas. Texas and Notre Dame are the two hottest girls at the dance. And before the most recent round of expansion, that is. So I don't know. It just the number, the cosmic tumblers clicking together is in terms of numbers and the scheduling path made me wonder maybe they're not going to go beyond 16, which would be great because then we don't have to change the name of the website again.
Right. Don't you think pulling from the Big Ten, though, would be a lot harder than pulling from any other league in Nebraska's case?
I think the biggest takeaway here is I don't think the SEC is going to go recruit anybody else, but they're going to be, look, if you're Nebraska and you get a chance to play Oklahoma every year, that's honestly one of the true rivalries I miss because growing up and all this realignment, Nebraska-Oklahoma was a awesome football game every single year.
And I guess you could say if you're going to add Oklahoma, Nebraska would be similar. Now, Oklahoma's had a lot more success post Tom Osborne, so they've gone in different directions. But you could go back before that. I would argue they were virtually identical as programs. Your TV markets is a big thing in this. I don't think Oklahoma – I mean, I guess you bring Oklahoma City. Nebraska would bring Omaha and Lincoln, which is probably bigger than most people know. But, I mean, that would be the similar path there. I'm just thinking like with North Carolina and Virginia, a lot of the appeal there is Eastern Seaboard TV markets. But, I mean, the football right there for both those teams is not that appealing. And Nebraska's has not been appealing in a while. But that is a football-centric school still, despite having a drought of success, which, by the way, I think Matt Rule is going to bring them back to success. But, I mean, that's interesting. I've been there before. My wife went there, and so, I mean, that is still a very passionate football state.
Without question.
Should we get into weekend schedules?
Did you watch the mini lives of Lane Kiffin last night?
No, but man, I want to. What did we learn from that?
We'll have to hold that. We may kick that around Monday amid our ranking show because I didn't last night either. We had softball practice, so I am very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. All right, let's go into this.
He's a good dude now.
Yeah,
the guy who kind of spearheaded this. What is it? E60. It wasn't a 30 for 30, but it was, I think, an E60.
Yeah. Yeah, he and Chris Lowe are probably the dudes that Lane Kiffin would trust the most. So to do something like that. You ready to dive into weekend schedules, Jay Greeson?
Hey, you lead the way, man. I'm just here to throw stuff off. I'm having a good hair day, by the way. I mean,
that's good.
I'm really happy with the flow right now.
I'm getting mine cut today. It's been a minute, so let's see. We got 8 games involving SEC teams this week, and we're going to touch on some national games of significance. But I've got the 8 games divided into 3 tiers. One of them playoff impact games. That is Alabama at Georgia, LSU at Ole Miss. And this is the order we will probably do these in, by the way. Auburn at Texas A&M, Tennessee at Mississippi State. And then I would say that tier 2 is competitive games with potential impact. That's Notre Dame at Arkansas, Kentucky at South Carolina. And then tune-ups, you've got Utah State at Vanderbilt and UMass at Missouri. So with that, we will start at the top. Biggest game of the week. And maybe the biggest game of the week nationally, with apologies to Oregon and Penn State, which we'll talk about briefly later. Alabama at Georgia, and it's the same old question of which streak snaps, Georgia's home win streak or Alabama's dominance of recency in the series.
Look, everybody on every platform is quick to say, and my man Brian Edwards in Bets and Ball Games here on Southeastern 16, he and I were talking about it. He said there's no way he'd pick against Alabama and Georgia because they've won 9 of the last 10. Well, the last time they went to Sanford Stadium, Kirby Smart was on the other sideline. And know this, since 2017, Kirby Smart is 50-1 in that building.
Gosh.
And that one loss was in double overtime when Georgia turned it over 4 times and Rodrigo Blankenship missed 2 field goals that would have beaten South Carolina. So
yeah, and the one loss,
51-0.
The one loss was South Carolina, right?
Yes.
So that's a guy who had, I think, been on his staff. Was he an analyst for them around that time, or was that afterwards?
Who, Muschamp?
Muschamp, yeah. I'm getting my timelines confused.
Well, Muschamp's been on staff here recently. He took a step back to make certain he could get to Vandy when he needed to watch his son play quarterback in Nashville.
No, right. What I meant was that a bridge, like Lane Kiffin did that with Alabama? Like, was that a bridge? Did he do a stint as a bridge between Florida and South Carolina at Georgia?
He may have, or he may have gone to the rehab school. I mean, that is Nick Saban, who takes all these former dudes and puts them in an analyst role. The next thing you know, they get a big time job again.
Yeah.
So,
the point I was making is there might have been some familiarity that helped there. I mean, that's incredible. 50 out of 51. And it's not like Georgia's taking on lightweights at home every year.
No. And, I mean, in some of them, I mean, there are – but that's true of every national power, that you're going to have 2 or 3 home games a year that you're going to be a 40-point favorite.
Yeah.
And so, okay, but – look, I expect Georgia to be wild. I expect the place to be jumping. And look, Ty Simpson's been almost perfect the last 2 weeks. But Ty Simpson's got to play at home the last 2 weeks. And he was far from perfect when they went to Doak in Tallahassee. And this place will be – the place will be crazier. Night game in Sanford. 2, the defense is better.
I think people that know football better than I do have kind of pushed back on the Ty Simpson was an issue in game 1. I think it was more the offensive line and line of scrimmage. Maybe he had some drops. But anyway, like Wisconsin and ULM don't prove much. This one will. My question is, Georgia, Jay, had some big-time breakdowns in the secondary against Tennessee. Busted coverages, losing one-on-one battles, and now you face probably a 1-2 receiving punch that is better than anything Tennessee threw at Georgia. And not that Tennessee's is bad. I don't think Chris Brazzell and whoever their 2 would be are as good as Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard, being my point. So I'm really very interested to see, like, how did the line of scrimmage issues get fixed for both teams? And what does it look like when Alabama is really testing Georgia in the secondary? Because, again, we saw some big-time lapses in coverage, and give credit to Tennessee there too, right? But that's how Tennessee puts some distance between itself and Georgia.
Well, then if we're going to give Ty Simpson a pass in Tallahassee, then I'm not saying the couple of busted coverage. Brazzell made some big boy plays now. I mean, let's not sell Chris Brazzell short. I mean, I think he's among the nation leaders in touchdown catches. That dude is a dude. And I'll put Josh Heupel's first 15, 20 play script up against anybody in college football. Petrino, Kiffin, anybody. I mean, that's how you sprint out to a fast start. I got a couple of gambling buddies who are crushing it, betting Tennessee overs in the first quarter, first half, every single week, blindly. They just do it. So when you put 21 on a Kirby Smart defense in the first quarter, maybe there were some mistakes from some of these younger Georgia defenders, but there also was a whole lot of credit to be given to Tennessee. But the reverse of that and the reason I believe in this Georgia team Saturday, they've answered a bell that Alabama does not know, because kicking the snot out of La Monroe in Wisconsin, because they had a chance to answer a bell on the road in Tallahassee in a similar moment, and they didn't.
I'm glad you brought that up, because do you remember the first half score of Georgia and Alabama a year ago?
No.
30-7. Remember, Alabama just ran away with that. And we were all just like, what are we watching here? Before Georgia made a charge. I think Georgia took the lead before Alabama got it back at the end. So that's a good point. I mean, fast starts. Now, here's the thing of interest. Tennessee plays a fast tempo. I think Tennessee ran 100 plays the week before. Alabama ran only 52 plays against Wisconsin. So it's going to be a very decidedly different approach here.
Yes. And look, man, Wisconsin's hot garbage. I mean,
yeah.
I think we talked about this last week. I can't remember a coaching hire I was more wrong on. In the early stages, I thought Luke Fickell was going to go there and just pick up where Barry Alvarez was and get Wisconsin back among the elite in the Big Ten, and they are bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I think a lot of people whiffed on that one. The other thing I think of interest is just both teams getting maybe healthier on the line of scrimmage. Georgia's got some injury issues along the offensive line. Might have Green out for this one potentially. We'll look at the injury reports tonight. I would think there'll be. I think that's when the updated ones come out. So I don't know what they put on there for Tuesday, but and of course Alabama's getting back two big guys in Keenan on defense and their running back whose name suddenly escapes me.
Jam Miller?
Jam Miller. Yes.
The whenever Jam Miller's name comes up, I'm reminded of Jeff Hodge at South Alabama and those. And this is fitting on Scottie Pippen's birthday. Scottie Pippen's 60 today. But South Alabama had made a run in the NCAA tournament, and they had two dudes that everybody called peanut butter and jelly because they played so well together. And one of them was Smokey Hodge's older brother. Smokey was a linebacker at Auburn when I was there. And I think his name was Jeff Hodge. And I just love that nickname. Called him peanut butter and jelly.
Love it. Pulled up the injury report. Jamarian Latham out for Alabama, their linebacker, who's decent part of what they do. Jeremiah Beeman, defensive lineman. Danny Lewis, tight end, and Tim Keenan, defensive lineman, probable. I would think that Keenan would play. And Georgia's got tight end Ethan Barber out. I think that's for the year. Malachi Tolliver, I think, is a reserve lineman. Thomas Blackshear, receiver, out. They've got a ton of those. And then Ernest Green, the third, is doubtful. They're right tackle, I believe.
I wonder what Ernest Green the third's daddy's name is. It's got to be Ernest Green the second, right? I mean, you don't.
If not, then we're having a very interesting conversation.
Well, hey, nobody across the country, with the exception of Ohio State, is going to empathize with either of these programs having anybody on the injury report because they've got that much talent.
Yeah. And frankly, that's not a huge list of injuries for this time of year. And I kind of assume somebody who's probable is going to play.
Yes. And they're both coming off a bye week, which, I mean, I hope as they start fine-tuning these schedules, they figure out a way as best they can, because this is like you're going to need Neo to figure out the matrix to make it completely fair. But situation like this, both these teams having a bye week allows for fairness. I mean, I don't know which game we're going to next, but Auburn having to go to Norman while Texas A&M has a bye week, then going back to Auburn and then now going back to College Station. That's a tough a tough spot on the schedule, brother.
Well, the place we're going next is Oxford. And by the way, we're both on Georgia to win this one, correct?
Yes. And okay. I will be financially invested in my FanDuel account for Georgia to cover. If it's under a field goal and the head coach is 50-1 at home, and all time at home in his time at Georgia, he's like 53-4. And those 4 losses are by a total of 8 points.
Unbelievable what he has done.
David, I think that's a real good score in the chat right there. I think that is a real good score. And the comment above that, Zachariah Branch is fast. I mean, everybody on the field's fast. I mean, when you got defensive tackles who are running like 4.85 40s, and that's faster than just about everybody you know. Because look, gang, there are no bigger lies in sports than 90-mile-an-hour fastballs and 4.4 speed, because you just know. And when guys who are 320 pounds, did you see on the block field goal, speaking of Georgia, and I know I get on tangents and we got a lot of games to get to, the block field goal that the Georgia D tackle ran back for the Eagles to cover against the Rams on Sunday. Yeah. He's 335 pounds, and he was clocked at better than 18 miles an hour running that kickback.
Unbelievable. I don't know how you do that. What amazes me, when one of those guys dunks a basketball sometimes too, you see highlights of that. That's what really gets me. Like, how do you do that? All right, we're getting
Oxford. All right.
Yeah, let's go to Oxford. Before we do, reminder, we're brought to you by our friends at Game Time Sidekicks. This is the lovely 40-ounce tumbler that I pour my ice and my water into every morning. Make sure I'm hydrated. I've got another one for my caffeine. These things are fantastic. They are sturdy. We can tell you stories about how they keep your ice icy for hours. And, of course, if you put coffee in, Jay Greason's got stories about that too. They will keep your hot coffee hot for hours, Jay.
You know what they really will do? They will spoil you about cold drinks and hot drinks whenever you try to use another cup.
True. They make pretty much everything. They've got every SEC school. They've got dozens of designs for each. They've got over 350 other universities. They've got stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, 40-ounce bottles, and shaker cups. SE16 gets you 20% off your entire order at GameTimeSidekicks.com. Jake Greason, LSU travels to Ole Miss, 2 unbeaten teams. Where do you want to start with this one?
I'm on this game too, and I'm over 55.5. But I think this is a put up, shut up, Brian Kelly, put up, shut up, Garrett Nussmeier. Go win, go be better than what you were against Clemson, because Clemson doesn't look good. And go beat somebody like you need to, or at least offensively succeed like you need to. If you've got a round 1 quarterback, an unbelievably talented wide receiver room, and I don't know how good this Ole Miss defense is.
Jay, I don't have any feel on this game. Like, usually I've got opinions. They're often wrong. I don't have any kind of feel with this game. I mean, I think the closest I've got to a gut feeling is that it feels like this is the kind of big spot where Lane Kiffin has stumbled, although, you know, the folks in Baton Rouge would have a word to say about Brian Kelly not winning big games. The defense is my concern for Ole Miss, just as it is yours. The offense has been a concern for LSU, for me, particularly now knowing that Clemson is not as good as we thought. And did LSU put up some numbers last week? Yes, but that was against CeeLo. I think Ole Miss's schedule has been maybe a little bit underrated. They played at least quality teams the last 3 weeks, 2 of those conference games, one of them Tulane. And so they've been tested a little bit so far, but we don't know what quarterback's playing. We really don't know how good Ole Miss's quarterbacks are because we haven't seen them play for a long spell against good teams. And that's where I get stuck. Like the thing coming in the year, this is what really gets me, Jay. I think the thing that we knew coming into the year, if you'd said, what do you know about LSU and Ole Miss? Give me one thing that you know between those two programs. I would have said that LSU is going to light up the scoreboard. Now, I would have said my reservation will be they have lost some offensive linemen, including 2 tackles. But I believe in the talent. I believe in the quarterback. I believe in that receiving room and the depth of it. That is debatably the weakest of the 4 units on the field so far in terms of how they have performed.
Well, because if you were going to have a question, I think we all had the question about LSU replacing 4 starters on the offensive line, including 2 NFL tackles. We also had a number of questions about the defense, and the defense has been lights out. Now, I don't know who on their bingo card had a Ferris State transfer named Trinidad Chambliss looking like a young Michael Vick, but I don't know if that's just because Lane Kiffin is truly gifted at being a quarterback whisperer, or this kid was amazingly overlooked in every recruiting process everywhere. I think maybe some of both. But this is going to be this game will be fun.
Neither quarterback is listed on the injury report. So what do we think Ole Miss is doing at quarterback?
I don't know how you look. Trinidad Chambliss has now got enough attempts. He's in the top 10 nationally in efficiency. Austin Simmons has thrown 4 picks in 2 games to 4 touchdowns. I don't think there's a look. Austin Simmons may have got Wally pipped, man. I mean, he may have rolled an ankle, and the next thing you know, Lou Gehrig steps in.
Yeah, I got 2 counterpoints to that. First of all, he's kind of the quarterback of the future that they built around. Number 2, I've heard people that know football better than I do say they feel like the upside with Simmons is bigger than it is with Chambliss. And so the feeling is if you're going to beat a team like Ole Miss, that's where you go.
You're going to be a team like LSU.
I mean, beat like LSU, excuse me. Right.
Well, here's the thing that I believe. If this becomes a controversy, he better be certain that Austin Simmons is A, healthy, and B, ready for this moment. Because you insert Austin Simmons in a home game with this kind of drama, with this kind of tabloid stuff that your daughter's dating the middle linebacker on the other team, and Austin Simmons struggles early, you're going to hear groans from the audience. You're going to hear put Trinidad in, and you're opening your – and look, I don't ever want my head coach to make decisions with the concerns of being second-guessed. But you want to make this a controversy, re-inject Austin Simmons and let him struggle. Because against a Tulane team that's pretty good, Trinidad Chambliss was lights out.
Are we overthinking it? I mean, do you just not play whoever you think is the best guy?
I would. That's why I say go.
Yeah.
I think this is a decision, and you certainly can't. If you're 13 in the country in a race for 12 playoff spots and you're still undefeated and you lead the league because you've already won 2 conference games, you can't be worried about the future quarterback. You got to do what you can to win Saturday, period. Forget period. Exclamation point.
I still don't know where I'm leaning in this game.
I just think
what are you thinking?
Points. I don't know. I mean, Vegas doesn't know. What is it? Let me pull up my FanDuel account. Last I saw, it was like Ole Miss -1.5.
Is this a when in doubt, go with the home team spot?
It's still 1.5. That number is, and the over under is dropping. It's at 54.5 now. So I may be the outlier, but boy, oh boy, do I always love making picks that go against the public.
So where are you going?
I'm going over. If I had to pick a winner here, I'm man, oh man. I'm going to take LSU because their defense is noticeably and markedly better. I've got to trust a guy who everybody grades as a first-round quarterback.
I think I am too. I think I'm leaning that way too, but I don't feel great about it.
Hey, this could be a moment that it turns Garrett Nussmeier back into where does he fall on day 2? And are people trading up to get him?
Yeah.
I mean, it's time for Garrett Nussmeier. Look, he got a ton of flowers, and at the time, rightly so, and I'm certain you and I gave them to him because we had LSU atop our power polls, and if I had an AP vote after week 1, I would have put them number 1 in the country because of what we thought Clemson was. What we've seen Clemson is, I think Ole Miss beating Tulane may have been a better win.
Yeah, I mean, it's at least arguable at this point, which is crazy, but that's where we are. Is Clemson's now 1-3. All right, let's go to College Station, and I want to start with your take on an Auburn because this is a fascinating spot for Hugh Freeze in Auburn. A&M is coming in. I think right now, if you froze the season and picked the playoff teams, A&M would have a pretty good argument just based on winning at Notre Dame and winning its other 2 games. Auburn, Jay, is a glass half full or half empty? I'm going to make the cases here, okay? I'll start with the half empty. They're averaging under 5.5 yards on passing plays because Jackson Arnold is holding on to the ball too long, which is negating 2 studs. And actually, they got more than that. They've got other guys outside your main 2 who can catch the ball, right? And Jackson Arnold also can run it a bit, as can Jeremiah Cobb. So there's some things there to like for sure. But the downfield passing game, like when you cannot throw the ball downfield, that changes the way teams defend you. 9 sacks given up last week, or 10, depending on where you look. On the other hand, all that went wrong. You still darn near pulled an upset in Norman against one of the hottest teams in college football. And then again, to the other side, Hugh Freeze just has not done well in these spots. So which side are you taking? Or are you just throwing up your hands and going, I don't know, like I am?
I won't bet this game at all. I won't bet the total. Because I think 2 things happen. And I don't have a firm feeling on either. I think Auburn wins the game outright, or they really likely are going to get beat by 3 touchdowns and just be a second half. College Station's rocking, back-to-back road spots, a better rested A&M bunch. To your first question, is the glass half full or a glass half empty? I don't know. I can't answer that because I look at this glass. If this was a clear glass, I don't know what the liquid is.
Yeah.
Because there is a ton of talent all over the field. Auburn's defense is good. I think they're going to frustrate Marcel Reed. But I don't know about the guys making the decisions on the sidelines. I don't know. Look, I think Brian and I were talking about this in bets and ball games. I think we really need in the college ball box score targets like they do in the NFL, because whatever Cam Coleman's targets are, it should be double that. I don't care if they're double covered or what or not. And I don't know if I shared this with you, Chris, but my view on the shortcomings of the downfield passing game, and this incorporated and helped with that unbelievable sack total. Look, Oklahoma's got a ton of dudes up front, and they made a ton of plays. But I also think last year's interception conundrum that was Peyton Thorne has forced Auburn to tell Jackson Arnold to be cautious to a fault. He's not throwing unless the guys are wide open. And that's just not going to happen enough to be a good downfield passing team. You've got to throw to spots. You've got to throw guys open. And sometimes you just got to trust Cam Coleman to go make a play, because dude's going to be a first-round pick in the 2027 draft. I mean, he's too physically gifted not to be.
I'm thinking about this from an Auburn standpoint. By the way, A&M, has not run the ball as well yet. Auburn's been terrific against the run. The best thing Auburn has had going for it offensively this year is Jackson Arnold and Jeremiah Cobb in the run game. Arnold was explosive against Baylor. Now, defense he's going to face, I think, against A&M is going to be better than that one, but he's got some burst, and A&M has had trouble with big plays. Maybe this is a game you just say, hey, look, we're going to let Jackson Arnold carry it 25 times. We're going to let Cobb carry it 25 times, and we're just going to see where this goes.
Well, as long as the other 30 plays are all thrown to Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton, then I'm fine with that. But eventually the other side, if you're going to run, I mean, the other side's got players and coaches too. I mean, you're going to have to figure out how to get the ball vertically. I'll tell you something else that puzzles me, having seen every snap of Auburn football. Where are the intermediate routes? It feels like everything's a go or a bubble screen, and there's nothing in the middle. And look, they see Jackson Arnold every day in practice, but if he can't throw a 15-yard in or a slant or something down the middle of the field, then find somebody else. I mean, because you got to have that so that you don't get layered defensively. I don't know. And Luke, to your point, hey, it could be Cam Coleman enters the portal. He and Singleton both are, according to what I read, they're both 7-figure NIL dudes. You got to hey, dance with who brought you. And if you've got a Clydesdale, you don't put a work plow behind him. You let that puppy run.
Where are we going here?
I think home field. I don't know if Auburn as a program is ready to answer the 100,000+. College Station's a hard place to play, and I don't think Auburn has a road win as a program over a top 10 team since beating Ole Miss in 2014.
Wow, that is a long time. Speaking of tough places to play, Starkville has become a tough place to play. Arizona State found that out a couple of weeks ago. A lot of people are dismissing this as a Tennessee laugher, and I think Tennessee wins. I do not see this being a runaway game.
I don't either. I don't see it. I think that's a little bit of easy chatter of it being a quote unquote laugher. Then what do the kids say on the interwebs? Tell me you haven't watched Mississippi State football without telling me you haven't watched Mississippi State football if you think this is going to be a laugher. I mean, both teams play very similarly. I don't know how many people know this, but I saw this week Jeff Levy was a student assistant on the Oklahoma staff when Josh Heupel played at Oklahoma, and also coached for Heupel and was an OC for 1 year at a previous stop. So they're going to know Tennessee's very, very well. I do think Tennessee wins. I think they cover. But but I don't see Laffer. And look, if we're going to be fair about Ty Simpson, what do we know about on the road? That's a fair question to ask in this one about Joey Aguilar going in front of 60+ thousand a day in Starkville. And with cowbells, they sound like 90,000. And have we really gotten to the bottom on how that's legal, where you can't bring in noisemakers anywhere else?
I don't understand that either. I really don't.
I mean,
but
and Mr. Jones is right, because cowbell, I mean, as Christopher Walken told us all in the famed SNL, I mean, if you've got a fever, the prescription is more cowbell.
One thing I think that's kind of interesting, Tennessee in an average game, there's 25 more snaps than there are is compared to what State's done so far. So you would think if your State, teams are going to try to slow it down on Tennessee, as a lot of teams are. But the problem is with Tennessee, and it's back to where you started, like the first quarter numbers for Tennessee this year, they put 21 on Georgia. Like, if you're trying to slow down the game, the problem is Tennessee is so good at that out-of-the-gate offense that there's a decent chance you're behind early and needing to catch up. So that's one thing that I think, like, if you're Mississippi State and you're going to pull an upset, you probably need to get the ball on the coin flip and go down and score first, because otherwise, if it goes the other way, Tennessee puts 7 on you and there's 13:58 left on the clock in the first quarter, as they've done so many times. That is exactly where Tennessee wants you.
Yes, 100%. And look, I love it. And I've got mad respect for Josh Heupel. I think he is great at this. I actually think he could be one of those guys, cover your ears, Tennessee fans, that transitions from college successfully to the NFL, because he gets what he wants to do, and offensively, not only how they're going to do it, but he maximizes his advantages across both sides of the football. Defensively, he plays aggressively. There's a reason Tennessee because he knows his defense can get tired because he plays so fast. There's a reason Tennessee's been over 100 tackles for loss each of the last 2 years, and it's not just solely talent. It is a mindset of, we're going to pressure those guys to play as fast as we do. Spurrier used to do this. And with the exception of Lord Saban, Spurrier was a guy I just thought was amazingly great at this. Spurrier used to make certain he sped you up, because that also, look, you don't want to give up touchdowns, but it also meant he got the ball back and he can then increase the pressure because he trusted his offense and his play calling that much. I think Heupel's, in a lot of ways, if he put a visor on, he'd be like Bobby Hill from King of the Hill dressing up as Spurrier for Halloween.
Yeah. I like that. Took me a second. I was sorry, and I was looking up Arizona State, because that's the best team that's Mississippi State has played. That was a big win for them. Don't get me wrong, it really was. But Arizona State's point totals so far in games not involving Mississippi State: 38 against Northern Arizona, 34 against Texas State, 27 against Baylor. By State, the only loss so far. So Arizona State has had some quality wins, and
they've got an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, but I don't think they're facing an offense with the octane that Tennessee's got, and I think that's the issue. But I mean, let's face it, not many teams have, so that's not a knock on State. I'm just saying, I think this is a level past what they have seen. Now, look, Tennessee on the road is also a different animal than Tennessee in Knoxville. So,
well, I mean, we can probably say that about everybody. I will say this, though. I feel like we should circle back to some of our summer conversations, because you referenced it in our first game, breaking down LSU, about questions about the offensive line. And those questions going into week 5 are still looming. We had huge questions about who was going to replace Dylan Sampson. I love how Josh Heupel has replaced them with the aggregate and not the individual, because all three of those dudes, they all can at various times carry a drive to a point that Tennessee's running game is a heck of a lot better than I expected it to be.
And again, State's better in the trenches than it's been. Been pretty good defensively. I'm going to ride with what I know with Tennessee here. Again, I don't know that this is going to be a laugher like a lot of people think, but I do think I think they win. Am I 100% confident of it? No, but I think I will go with Tennessee here in this spot. And I think you're on the same page with me, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it wouldn't surprise me if it got to double digits. I'm not saying it's going to be a rout, but I think – and I will 100% pull the trigger. And we had Salty Soda posted earlier that Tennessee first half totals are 4-0 so far this year. So betting on Tennessee to score before the half has been financially advantageous.
Okay, we're going to go into 4 more games quickly. I'll hit some national games, and then we'll talk playoffs for just a minute. Before we do that, reminder, our channel is also brought to you by our friends at Rockform. I'm not going to show you my Rockform phone case. That's because I use my phone as my camera. But if you saw it, this thing is impressive. It is like military grade stuff. I've dropped my phone several times since I had Rockform phone case. I've had no issues with my phone in that time. I've got this little thing. They make this little dash mount that you put on your vent in your car. Not that much money. Bought it a couple of weeks ago. I've clipped that to my vent. I stick my phone case on there, and the magnets stick, and my phone stays there. And it's right in front of my face while I'm driving. So if I need to answer a call or whatever, it's right there, but it's not a distraction. They make tremendous stuff. They make screen protectors, cords. They make golf speakers. Rockform, now that I've got this case, I swear by this thing. You will too once you get it. Go to rockform.com to get yours too. They make the world's strongest magnetic phone case. It's got secure mounting. SEC 25. Get you 25% off your entire order at rockform.com. Again, you will love it when you get it. Hovey Dry Goods is about to be my new favorite hat. I've got a Titans hat on the way. I don't really wear a lot of Titan stuff proudly right now because we're bad. But I will be wearing this hat proudly when I get it. And they make high-quality headgear of a lot of teams, SEC and outside the SEC. It is a hat that when you wear it, people are going to say, where did you get that thing? And you're going to tell them, Hovey Dry Goods. HOVI, for those of you who are listening and not seeing it on the screen. Look no further than Hovey hats for high-quality headwear with great fit and unique designs. Bad Beat Team of the Week. Last week is Auburn. Use promo code Auburn to get 15% off your entire order. I think that works. Bad Beat also may be a code, but try Auburn first and then go to that one. But anyway, I'm loving their hats. Going to get my Titans hat in the mail soon. I will be wearing that on air when we do.
Are you going to Braves hat? You love that Braves hat.
Well, I got a lot of hats I like. But yeah, I mean, if it replaces the Braves hat, then we've really found something there. All right, let's go to next game I've got on the board, Notre Dame and Arkansas. And this is really – Arkansas still got some stuff to play for. And spoiling Notre Dame's season would be a thing, right? Notre Dame this morning, a 6% chance to make the playoff, according to ESPN's FPI. That would have to be winning out. That would have to include this one. So Sam Pittman needs to get a win somewhere. This would be a good spot if he'd like to keep his job a little longer.
Well, not only are they at 2-2 and struggling, I think I saw a stat today that they've scored at least 28 points in the first half of every game, and they're 2-2. Or maybe not in the first half, but in each game, that defense is dreadful. And Notre Dame's defense statistically is every bit as bad. You're also looking at a real chance that you're wasting I'm trying to think the last time Arkansas had a quarterback like this. Is it Matt Jones maybe? I mean, He's top 10 nationally. He's top 5 nationally in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and he leads the nation in rushing yards for a quarterback.
Sorry, I got distracted. This is just funny.
Uh-oh. Well.
But yes to all that. The problem is their defense did not get stops in the running game last week. They make mistakes just at the wrong time. I'm not out on Arkansas winning this game, but they got to clean some stuff up, man. And I worry about Notre Dame being able to control the clock with the running game.
Oh yeah. Now I expect a lot of points. So does Vegas. That's a mid-60s total. I am on Arkansas over their team total of 29. But I'm not certain they're going to figure out enough ways to stop Jeremiah Love to find a way to win.
Who we got in the Sunglasses Bowl?
Huh?
You don't know about that? That's the new name for Kentucky and South Carolina.
Why?
You have to Google that. Shane Beamer apparently in 2022, I don't know if it was a hype video before or after, was wearing sunglasses, and then Mark Stoops made a crack about them, and it's just has had a life of its own since.
Oh.
I don't think those two coaches like each other very much, by the way. I don't think those two programs like each other very much.
Well, with all the things going on this weekend, I'm going to choose not to like any part of this game. I mean, if we were talking about now, I will be financially invested in this. I think this is a very tough spot for the Boley kid to make his first SEC road start. It's a desperate South Carolina team. It's a South Carolina team, has a huge edge at quarterback. It's a South Carolina team that, hey, let's be real honest about what's in front of them. They lose this one and fall to 0-3 in the league, they're staring 0-8 with a potential round 1, pick 1 QB. They're staring at 0-8 in the SEC because the rest of their SEC schedule, the lowest ranked team in this week's AP poll is Alabama at 17.
Man, nobody's going to be watching this game other than fans of those teams. It's at the same time as Alabama, Georgia. Yeah, I mean, I think give me Carolina at home, but I'm just not excited about this one.
And I will be on this game, especially as long as it's under the magic number of 7.
Well, it's in that tier of games because at least it's a conference game. And hey, league games are at least interesting. I mean, I just downplayed it, but anytime you get SEC teams together these days, there's always potential for interest, but I just don't like the way either team is playing. Tune-up games. Let's go to Utah State comes to Vanderbilt. Utah State is 3-1. Played with A&M a little bit in that one, although I think that was a big halftime margin and maybe some second-half scores to make it look closer than it did. Utah State does have kind of a big play offense. I know that their offensive line apparently is a sieve. They've given up 16 sacks. But I think for Vanderbilt, you just get ahead, you run the ball through the running back position to kind of grind some clock, and you just try to get Diego Pavia out of that one healthy.
Do you know who Utah State's coach is?
Bronco Mendenhall.
Yeah, I was surprised to learn that this week. These next two, yes, the SEC team's going to win. But there's no way in both of these spots I could give any type of pick on Vandy. And then when we get to Missouri, the line's too big. And, yeah, I know Vandy just dropped 70 on Georgia State, and there may be some similar comps. But that was Vandy being pissed off about last year.
Yeah.
And you've got Bama next week. The last thing anybody wants to see Vandy undefeated and ranked going to Tuscaloosa. The last thing anybody wants is Diego Pavia to roll an ankle.
Yeah.
Well, other than Bama fans, I mean, they got like their Diego Pavia voodoo doll and sticking pins in it. So
there's a few teams in the league like that, but yeah, I mean,
find a way to get out.
Yeah,
get up early. If you really feel like you must bet this game, take a look at a lot of the Vandy first quarter, first half numbers, and maybe roll the dice there because you want to start fast. But Vandy laying 22.5 in a game Clark Lee would be tickled blue to win 31-21 is Vandy minus 11.5 in the first half is potentially, I like that better. I even like Vandy minus 6.5 in the first quarter better than I like 22.5.
Yeah, that's interesting. That they eat so much clock. The problem with the first quarter bet with MJ is, let's say that Utah State gets the ball, goes down for a few minutes, and they don't get the ball till there's 8 minutes left in the quarter. That is a kind of a grinded out offense. Like sometimes it takes a little while for it to warm up, but man, they were clicking on all cylinders last week. So there's also that. But anyway, I could see it being competitive for a while. I think Vanderbilt's just too good in the trenches for Utah State. That's my take on it. Last one, there's nothing to see here really. UMass at Missouri. UMass may be the worst team in the FBS. This is a get Bo Pribula out of the game healthy spot.
Let Ahmad Hardy get something close to 90-plus rushing yards so he can stay among the nation's leaders, and then tell him to put his shoulder pads back in his locker because – Missouri's got a great schedule in front of them and a home run opportunity in 2 weeks. They're off next week, Alabama, and then they get Alabama in Columbia. Alabama, we know who they've got this week. Then Alabama's got the revenge game with Vandy next week as Missouri gets to rest. Just make certain you get healthy, get to 40, call the dogs off, make certain all the alumni kids who walked on get a carry, and get on out of there and celebrate with the girlfriends.
All right, Jay, I'm going to go to some national games of interest. I bring these up because there are going to be obviously playoff implications with these games. I think the headliner outside the SEC, Oregon at Penn State, both teams unbeaten. Both teams have had garbage schedules so far. Oregon's been a little tougher. So there's that one. Other undefeated matchups, Ohio State is going to Washington, both them 3-0. That's kind of interesting. We've got Iowa State and Arizona, both unbeaten. That one is in Arizona. And then we've also got games of potential national interest. Indiana 4-0 at Iowa, 3-1. BYU 3-0 at Colorado, which is 2-2, and Southern Cal, which is unbeaten, also has not played much of anybody, is going to Illinois, which got destroyed last week by Indiana. And finally, Florida State, unbeaten, going to a little better than we thought Virginia team. Any of those games, obviously Oregon, Penn State is the easy answer, but what's of interest to you here?
Line items for a lot of them. Can James Franklin deliver in a big moment? And I think that's the question everybody should be asking, because in games he's expected to win, Penn State's been great. In these coin flip games, and what are they, like a 3.5 point favorite in Happy Valley? And the stats show in this crazy realignment, Big Ten teams that have to go across multiple time zones have been dreadful. So this one's on James Franklin. It's time to mark that line item off the resume, question marks. I think Illinois is worth a look about a play, because the bounce back mode after everybody telling you how bad you suck is very real, especially same with when you have a huge win, everybody like Indiana going to, hey, points are hard to come by. Mendoza aside and how great he's been, man, Mendoza's been awesome at Indiana.
He's starting to get some first round love, I believe.
Well, he's got 14 touchdown passes and 0 picks. And look, if whatever SEC opening comes first, if they're not kicking the tires on Kurt Signetti, then I don't know what they're doing. What else can that guy do? Indiana was in the playoff last year, and he's still dropping hammers on people.
Back to Penn State for a minute. The schedule, I mean, Oregon is the only tough game that Penn State plays on the first half of its schedule. UCLA coming up next, and then Northwestern. And then the second half gets considerably tougher at Iowa, at Ohio State, Indiana, then Michigan State. That's on the road. Nebraska, that's at home. And then they'll finish with Rutgers. So this is one, if you're Penn State, you're at home. You've not really built up any kind of resume so far. I mean, the teams you've beaten are Villanova, FIU, and Nevada, which are all awful. So with some of those road games coming up, Penn State was, I think, one of the bigger odds-on favorites to make the playoff. You don't take care of business at home, you could find yourself getting left out of the playoff at the end with a couple of those road games.
Well, it's if you're in the Big Ten, the SEC, it's a race to 10. I think everybody gets a mulligan as long as you don't drop one to FIU or something like that. It's a race to 10, especially with Notre Dame struggles, and Clemson has played themselves out. So I'm not going to say this one's got to have in terms of playoff hopes for the Nittany Lions. It's really getting close to got to have if you're James Franklin.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's developed kind of a reputation for not winning those kinds of games, and I don't think it's unfair. So, yeah, big game for both those teams. Oregon's schedule, I think, also gets a lot tougher after this. Got Indiana at home. Just reading it. Iowa on the road won't be a pushover. Southern Cal, that'll be at home, and we'll see how good Washington is. That one will be on the road. So Oregon's got actually a pretty easy schedule from here on out, not so much for Penn State. Anything else on national games of the week, or do you want to just hit playoffs for a bit here?
Let's just hit playoffs.
Okay, I've come up with a little thing, and we'll start showing our work in future. I don't want to do it today, but Jeff come up with a model, and I've scored wins, and here's how it works. You get a point for every win, and then you get more points based on how good the team is. Every time you lose a game, you get a -1 and then kind of a strength of rating attached to the team. So like you lose a game, say at Oregon, it doesn't cost you much. You lose a game at Oklahoma State, you lose a lot there. And I just kind of add them up. The teams with the best resumes so far, this is not the final answer, but I'm just going to read them to you. And some of this is because some of these teams have played another game so far. Best resumes in the country, according to what I've got in this order. If you're just going to pick the playoff teams based on what they've done, you would go in this order: Oklahoma, LSU, Ole Miss, Miami, Iowa State, Georgia Tech, surprisingly Missouri, Texas A&M, and Southern Cal are your top 10. Memphis actually 11 right after that. They would get in by virtue of being an automatic qualifier. And then your Big 12 team, I guess we've got Iowa State in there. So your next team would be Oregon. I think we hit all the conferences. So those would be your playoff teams based on resume. Now, I don't think that's how we do it. I think you got to consider strength of the team. So if you did it that way, and right now I'm kind of weighting team strength at about 25% because we're not that far into the season, this would be what it would spit out in this order. And again, I'm not swearing this is the answer, but it's kind of interesting because what it spits out makes sense to me. With that weighting, you get Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Ole Miss, Miami, Indiana, Oklahoma, Texas A&M are your top, 9? LSU is 10. We need a team from the Big 12, so that would be Texas Tech, and we need an AQ, so that would be Memphis. That would be what that spits out. So going to be interesting to track the strength of schedule. The biggest things that stand out at this point, I want to see what Alabama is. They would be the next team out. Of course, they get penalized because they lost to Florida State. And Penn State, even with the power ranking, the resume has been so weak so far, they don't get in. Next teams out would be Missouri, Texas, Michigan, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Florida State in that order.
Interesting. And two of the teams that you rattled off that I think are not only contenders, but have been part of the surprise storylines of the first third of the season are the Techs, Georgia Tech and Texas Tech.
Yeah, I mean, the contender tier is really interesting. There's a lot of teams that are in that I think are going to have a shot.
Did you hear what Kiffin said on the SEC media teleconference yesterday?
Didn't catch it.
He was talking about his opponent, of course, and then referenced the thing he saw of the three schools that spent the most in NIL portal money: LSU, Nebraska, and Texas Tech. They're 12-0.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how good Texas Tech really is. We got a little bit of a glimpse when they manhandled Utah last week, which honestly surprised me.
Sam, come on now. Come on, Sam. I
hear Sam's in fine form today.
Yep. Sam is in fine form. He's stoked about the Cowbells.
He is. Toughest strength of schedules ahead among teams that could be playoff contenders. It gets much. Penn State actually is going to have the toughest schedule of all those teams, starting with the Oregon game, followed by Georgia, A&M, Texas. BYU's unbeaten, if you want to put them in that category too. Tough schedule ahead. Then LSU, Washington, Vanderbilt, Ohio State, which has got a pretty easy schedule here on out. Oklahoma down that list. I don't know how Oklahoma's. I think part of it is they play one fewer game, and that does factor in. Again, I don't believe everything this spits out, but it's kind of interesting. I'm going to use this to track things going forward. We'll probably go a little more in depth as we go. I wanted to test drive it for a couple of weeks first and see if it's
more depth than what we just heard.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up and let people ask questions about stuff. And if people have questions now, I'll do it. But the value in is not just kind of just spitting out lists of names. It's like looking at what's possible.
Well, I'm going to have to quote the criminally underrated Spies Like Us here.
Yes.
And say that I was told there would be no math.
Well, I'll do the math here. But it is kind of interesting looking at who's got the toughest and the easiest pass going forward. I've also kind of done like a quad system. It's a little based on kind of what the NCAA did with the net. It's not just your strength of schedule, but like where are the games? Are you playing just a bunch of really good teams and that's your strength of schedule? Or are you playing some teams that are like playoff tier and balancing out against Kent State? So that's kind of the other interesting thing. I'm not going to roll it all out today. But of note, Florida's going to end up playing 6 playoff caliber teams this year, if you factor in home field, which is just absurd.
Well, Billy Napier can put that on his resume when he's applying for a coordinator's job this offseason.
Yeah. I don't even begin to know how to handicap the playoffs at this point. Do you?
No. And I think it's like saying who's going to win the Masters next year. I mean, yeah. We've got to see a whole lot before us before we even start doing that.
Yeah. Well, we'll make that a regular. We might do our own show with that going forward, and I'll kind of make it a little cleaner in presentation. But anyway, Sam says he's got a question. I don't think I want to know. Why are you such a nerd? Thanks, Sam. Love you too, buddy. All right, Jay. Any parting thoughts before we end the show?
Well, I'm curious why Sam didn't ask why I'm such a nerd.
Well, we'll leave that to next week. Any parting thoughts on Week 5 in the SEC and nationally? I mean, this is going to be a great week of football, man. That's potentially, gosh, you've got 4 games in the SEC alone. Well, 5 if you consider Arkansas, because Arkansas winning this one deals a death blow to Notre Dame once and for all. Oregon, Penn State, absolutely playoff tier game. And then I went through the others. I'm interested to see if Washington can put up a fight against Ohio State, which will be traveling across the country. A road test for Florida State, I think, coming off a bye week. Yeah, I mean, I just think there's a lot of games in there. Iowa State 4-0. I mean, right now, I know Texas Tech is kind of the talk of that league, but Iowa State has probably accomplished more. I mean, there's a ton of games here that I think could be things that decide at the end who gets in and who gets out.
Huge weekend for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Huge. All right, we'll be here to cover it afterwards, so subscribe to the channel if you've not, and enable your notifications so when we go live, you'll know that. Thank you guys for watching. God bless you. Have a great week. He's Jay Greeson. I'm Chris Lee. Thank you for watching Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel.